Hey, how are y'all doing? So, I'm gonna get into before I get into the review, I want to talk about this trade really fast. So, I recorded this trade. You can go watch it, last video. But basically, I think there was something I overlooked with it. Basically, here what I was thinking for the trade was, okay, so we have these two big legs down. The downtrend has a break and a new low, which I got this downtrend off the lows because obviously you couldn't get it off the highs. But you just drug it off the lows, put it to that high. It fits really well. You know, it's clearly a valid channel. So we have a break. We can expect prices to make a new low. It makes a new low. Two clear legs down. Now it was basically off of this overnight high here. I know it did go through it, but I mean since I'm trading on such a big picture, I mean you can get bounces in the general areas anyway. But one of the big things that I was thinking for this trade was just how fast it spiked down here, especially at the end here. And you know, this is an unsustainable downtrend. It can't last that long. It's not like it's gonna, you're not gonna have a downtrend shooting this far down, this sharp down, 90-degree angle. It's not gonna last very long. And so when you do see that happen, it's gonna reverse really fast quite often. And so I actually have other trades almost exactly like this, where one of the biggest reasons for taking the trade is simply because it was going so fast, sharply down. Obviously, it can, if it's moving really sharply up, you can take a short if you get an inverse of the same context. So that's what I'm thinking for this trade, basically. Now, one thing I didn't really draw, just because it was happening so fast anyway, was it did have the short-term trend line. If it had overshot right here, that would have been a whole lot better. But I did technically enter into a downtrend here. But these moves, when they go down this fast like that, just bar after bar, very sharp, very quick move down, very far away from the EMA, it's like you can really expect to retest it. I can't say for sure if I wouldn't have taken it if I saw that in time, because I wasn't in that situation, so I can't say. But yeah, I do think it's a generally good looking trade. I didn't like how I got filled by like a couple, or like 1 point. Basically I had like 1 point to spare after getting filled, and then it went down to where my stop would have been. Now, usually I don't really like that feeling, but there is a reason I go for this target. So there's a reason I don't go for more than that. So it's not a big deal. Sometimes you'll get filled only by a few ticks to spare. Sometimes, like here, it'll go a lot further than you think. So there's a reason I'm not going for more than this target anyway. So anyway, I'll just get into the whole review now. So let me just get over here. So obviously I didn't have that right off the bat. I started trading around 8:30 today, a little bit after 8:30. But basically what I saw coming in was these overnight highs, these overnight lows. Clearly that's the pre-market range. We have these two legs down here. Let me quickly get these drawn. So we have two legs down. It's almost to the tick, not quite, but almost. And then as soon as it has these two legs down, it rushes above the EMA. You get this failed second entry because you have a first entry short, second entry short failure. It's now, to me, because I go for larger targets, I don't like to scalp. It's not the greatest setup, but the context is pretty good, and I do think it'd be worth taking to try to get to these highs. But an absolutely ideal looking trade would be you have a break of the trend, and then you get a first attempt higher, and then you enter on the second attempt higher. And you do get that there, but this is just a couple wicks lower. But really, sometimes I just like to enter on the second attempt after it gets a break of this channel. But you do still have the failed second entry, and then you're expecting a new high. The downtrend played out early. That's sign of a bullish imbalance, and it didn't even react to the EMA. It just shot straight through. And then you get an entry above. It does close back below, but then it traps higher there, so the trap does make it look better too. So all in all, I think it looks like a pretty good trade right there. The context is really good, but sometimes I would want to just see it I would want to see the attempts completely outside of the short-term uptrend here. So either way, it's a good looking trade. And then as soon as it tests the highs, it pushes back down. But here, when I get this bounce here, starts moving higher, that was when I confirmed my beliefs about the bullish imbalance, which at first I was trying to draw this trend like this, but as I got more price action, I ended up leaving it here. It fits the best here, I think, so I left it like that. But we push higher here. We have this uptrend, we have a break. We're having these corrections, but we're not reaching the EMA, so there's really nothing to take. So you can extend it pretty fast. I put it to there. You have these highs. Clearly the highs fits over here as well. Now you have uptrend, break. You can expect prices to make a new high, especially because you're in this larger uptrend, so there's a lot of momentum, to the upside. But you get the break, you can expect prices to make a new high. You don't get a setup to go long here. You just get this downtrend. There's no break in a new low. It's just a downtrend, and then you kind of get this entry off the EMA, but really there's no way you can enter that. I mean, the downtrend is still in play. It's very congestive. It's just chopping right around. I mean, that just doesn't look like a good place to buy. And so then... also, I didn't have that range quite at that moment right here, but after we get this swing up, it starts chopping around, moves back to the EMA with nothing really small. That's when I drew this range here. And then, I wouldn't want to enter into the highs of this range, so I didn't want to take this higher low here, or this, technically it's not quite a failed second entry, but you can kind of look at it that way because you have this leg up, a break. So leg up, break, first attempt higher right here, and then you can expect that to be the second attempt higher, but you can't take that into these highs. It's just not a great setup. So anyway, we push out, we pull back to the EMA, but we don't quite reach it. We have leg up, break, new high right here, and then we just push lower, bounce, start going sideways again. We get this tiny breakout pullback, but that's not really enough to consider it. Plus, it could be more down here. And then finally, we get this. We're at the EMA. We're off these lows right here. There's really nothing to take here, though. You have this downtrend break, new low. You do get a good signal bar, but just look at the context. So this uptrend right here, I did think it's valid at the time, but one thing is we cannot even reach these highs up here, which is a clear sign of bearish. There's clearly bears trying to push it down, so push the market down. So, because in a healthy trend, you're going to be reaching the highs and lows. Here, we had a short-term trend line, have a break and a new high, and it's still not hardly getting past the midline. So, that's sign of bearish, of bears coming in. So, there's really no way that you can go long there. Also, it's just very congestive, which... Okay, with congestion, as long as you can see what prices are doing, you can see the break new low, you can technically still take it, but it's just not good for the other reasons. It's not a healthy uptrend. It looks pretty valid. It looks like you have the three bounces here, because you have here, almost there, and there. At first I had it there, but I already explained that part earlier. But yeah, also you don't have enough room for good risk to reward unless you get in with a limit order, but... once again, it's just not a good entry. So you finally get this breakout pullback, pushes lower. There's no way you can enter that. You don't want to go short at this moment either, even though you should be suspecting that there's bears coming in. You are, in fact, still in an upward bias, so you still can't just take a short off this breakout pullback that has almost no momentum to it. So anyway, let me remove this. We break out. So uptrend has this break. You can expect prices to make a new high. We start to go into this uptrend. At this point, I would really want to look for like a rush above the EMA and then a couple of holds to try to get a uptrend break. First attempt higher, second attempt higher, which would be a reversal pattern. But you don't end up getting that. But you rush above and then you just basically trap lower. You get this bar right here, which ticks higher, traps lower, closes below. It's not an ideal short, because, I mean, it's really just this uptrend break and then a tick to try to attempt at a new high, which there's really just no way that you can take that short, even with the trap. It's just, that's not a strong enough setup to expect a reversal like we ended up getting here. So there's really no reason to take that. But then as we kept going lower, I started to draw these bigger downtrends. We have downtrend break, new low here, but I couldn't help but notice that it was fitting very well off these lows, and then it ended up holding down here after we finally made it down here. And so then I just put the highs up here, and then it looked like a pretty decent downtrend. I mean, it looks clearly valid, and then I was basically just playing the downtrend after that because this uptrend wasn't very strong to begin with. So if we're really going to start rushing below, looking to fade this range, I mean, you have to be able to switch biases pretty fast. So anyway, the downtrend, we have a break. Even though we don't have three confirmations off these highs, it's still a valid break because it's held so many times off the lows. So we have downtrend, break. We can expect prices to make a new low. Price rushes below the EMA, and now I want to talk about this entry because I did not, and what I ended up getting, I did not get slipped. Well, let me explain what happened. I ended up chasing it one tick, which is basically the only reason I managed to get into the trade anyway. But we had this downtrend break, expecting prices to make a new low. I did not want to enter on this bar, and I did not enter based off this bar. I waited for this bar right here to close below and then trigger, and then I dropped a limit order. At first I dropped the limit order right here, one tick below this bar. We almost got filled once, and then we did not get filled even here. Price went back lower, and then I was very afraid of it not filling me because because we're expecting a new low. It's already pushed pretty close down to where I would have my target, and then I did not get filled here, and it started pushing back down. I lowered my entry order by one tick, and then I barely got filled when it came back up on this second bar here. This second bar that ended up testing the break even. That's where I got filled, and then basically I just instantly got out. It just instantly shot down lower. But that's how I played that trade. And so since I ended up getting in one tick later, I ended up holding. I thought it was fine to leave my target. I was considering raising it back up one tick because I got in a tick late, but realistically, you do have this bearish momentum here. It's fine to just leave it for one more tick. Plus, with bigger picture entries, as I describe them all the time, it's like 99% of the time it's going to go, at least a few points more than your target. So I wouldn't mind having my target one tick higher or one tick lower technically than I was really wanting it to be. But either way, got out at 5 points. Great looking trade, but I did have to chase it by one tick. So anyway, and then here, right, I think I already explained this trade at the beginning, so I'm not going to go over it too much again, but we have this downtrend break, new low at the overnight highs. Basically, I'm just expecting to retest the EMA here, and so anyway, clearly you do have this larger trend here that has an overshoot, which I didn't draw it, which that's one lesson I kind of learned today. I mean, you got to make sure that you draw your bigger stuff. Sometimes, after you've just been doing so well for so long, you just neglect certain things and think that you can just avoid, drawing something, but you really should just draw it all. Because it has screwed me a couple times in the past where I think, oh, I'm not going to draw that. I'm so good, well, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, make sure you always draw your lines. Anyway, so I got out of that trade for 6 points. It filled me here, and then it instantly went back to where my stop would have been. Luckily, basically what it looks like to me is I got out, and then that basically kind of formed a range here. So I actually still feel really good about this entry, even though it did go back to where my stop would have been after only getting out by a few ticks. So either way, I still think it's a really good looking trade. Context is good. Of course, I did overlook this right here, but as I explained before, the trade was basically based off of expecting it to make symmetry at the very end here, which I actually think I forgot to mention that part. Whenever you have sharp moves down, it is expected to sharply reverse, create symmetrical looking shapes. And that's almost what it did here, almost made that V. Basically, one of the things I liked about this target was that I was getting out before the launch of this sharper move here. And either way, it took a while to get filled, but had to deal with an annoying pullback, but it's whatever. That's one other thing. You know, to go for bigger targets, you really got to learn to just deal with pullbacks. You can't move your target because of it. You can't move your stop because of a pullback. It happens all the time. You just got to deal with it and, you know, just accept that pullbacks happen and just, you know, not monkey around with your orders because you're getting a pullback, you know. But anyway, so we kind of just go congestive here, which I didn't draw this range in real time, but I could see, just like I was saying earlier, I should have been drawing all my stuff. Sometimes I just don't draw the stuff. But we're clearly going sideways here. We're in this range. I saw that we were in this uptrend, which I was basically just playing this uptrend here. I saw this entry in real time. I didn't see it as a breakout pullback, but I just saw the uptrend here, how it was the third bounce off the uptrend. I watched it go by. I didn't want to take it because now you can't expect a reversal from this area because you're coming from the overnight highs here. Then you broke back in, and now you're kind of, you know, breakout. It's basically like a big breakout pullback. So let me just zoom out. Like range here, big breakout pullback off of the overnight high. So it is a good area for a reversal, but then we didn't reach the highs here, and then we immediately closed below after a huge bearish bar. So I just didn't really want to take that, but you know, it's not the worst trade in the world because it's the third confirming bounce, but there's just too many things wrong with it. I wasn't willing to go for a decent target, or I wasn't wanting to go for a 1 to 2 target, and you know, I didn't want to go for 1 to 1 either because I just didn't think there was good reason to take the trade. You know, not good enough. Maybe it's high probability for a scalp, but that's not something I wanted to take with the way I trade and the rules I follow, and it's just, you know, it's just not a perfect enough entry. So anyways, now we bounce here, which I do see the break new high, which this is a good area to talk about price action levels that I talk about a lot. So you have the uptrend, break, new high, and then it immediately rushes below the EMA. But I mean, when you look at it on a bigger picture, I mean, you can kind of just tell. I mean, this is just an uptrend, and then this is the break, and then a couple legs to a new high here. So, I mean, if it barely breaks like that, it's going to react as a break at first because it reacts like a break, new high, and then as soon as it makes a new high, it just rushes below, which is very common. But after more price action goes by, you can clearly tell that that's kind of just holding, and then you have this bigger break here. That's just not a convincing break. This is a convincing break. And then you have the first leg to a new high, break, second leg at the new high, and then finally rushing back below, just like it did here. Just like it did here when it had the small break, new high, rush below, but it didn't hold very long. Now you're getting the same thing on a bigger picture. Uptrend, break, couple legs to a new high, and then rush below the EMA. So you got to see those price action levels to go for bigger targets, because you have to be entering on the bigger breaks, the bigger attempts. You know, I hope that's clear right there. But anyway, we're in this uptrend. We have a break, new high. It gets congestive here. Most of this was happening while I was going over the video, I think. But either way, there's not really any good trades here. There's certainly no room to enter for a good, target, because you'd want to get out before these highs, but also the uptrend just played out with a break and a new high here. So if you go long, it has to be a really good long, and these are all far away from the EMA, so there's just really nothing to take here. We have another push up, and then we're rushing below. We could get a reversal pattern, but I'm done trading for the day, so I'm not even going to look at anything else that happens. But anyway, that's going to be it for the video. Hope you all had a good trading day. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and yeah, I'll see you all in another video.